Jack the Ripper. Over 130 years ago, in the Whitechapel district of London, a mysterious killer spread terror. He became known as Jack the Ripper, the first serial killer to haunt the entire world. From August to November 1888, at least 5 women were brutally murdered. All were prostitutes living in poverty. They had their throats cut, abdomens mutilated, and some even had organs removed from their bodies. What's terrifying is that the murders all happened at night, on deserted streets, and within just 15 minutes, Jack carried out his brutal acts before vanishing without a trace. He didn't just kill, he taunted the British police. He sent numerous mysterious letters to newspapers. In one letter, he even included a piece of a human kidney, claiming it belonged to a victim. Police believe Jack the Ripper had anatomical knowledge, possibly a doctor or a butcher. However, he was never caught. And for over 130 years, numerous theories about his true identity have emerged. A member of the British aristocracy, rumors suggested Prince Albert Victor, Queen Victoria's grandson, was Jack. Some believed he was Sir William Gull, a physician with deep anatomical knowledge. Another wild theory proposed Jack the Ripper was actually Jill the Ripper, a female killer seeking revenge against prostitutes. Despite hundreds of suspects being questioned, Jack the Ripper remains a phantom who was never captured. Jeffrey Dahmer. When talking about the most terrifying serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer cannot be ignored. The mass murderer with a penchant for cannibalism and performing horrific experiments. Dahmer was born in 1960 in the US. As a child, he preferred dissecting dead animals to playing with friends. He was a handsome student with a friendly, gentle appearance. Who would have guessed that behind that face lurked a true monster? From 1978 to 1991, at least 17 young men disappeared after meeting Dahmer. He lured them to his apartment with offers of free photo shoots, then drugged them, strangled them, and began his horrific experiments. He dismembered his victims, keeping skulls, bones, and even eating some body parts. On July 22, 1991, a potential victim luckily escaped the apartment and ran to the police. When police entered Dahmer's home, they were shocked to find Polaroids of dismembered bodies, human skulls on shelves, and a refrigerator full of human remains. In 1992, he was sentenced to 16 life terms. In 1994, while incarcerated, Dahmer was beaten to death by another inmate with a metal bar. John Wayne Gacy. Gacy was born in 1942. A model citizen, a successful businessman, even politically active. He often dressed as Pogo the Clown, performing at charity events. But behind that friendly facade was a true monster. From 1972 to 1978, numerous young men vanished without a trace in Illinois. The victims were mostly teenage boys, runaways, or those tricked into seeking work. They all disappeared after encountering Gacy. He often lured victims to his home, pretending to perform a magic trick and putting handcuffs on them. Afterward, Gacy tortured, and murdered his victims, burying them right under his house in the crawl space. When his crawl space was full, he started dumping bodies in the river. In December 1978, a 15-year-old boy went missing. After telling his family he was going to Gacy's house for a job interview, police raided Gacy's home and were horrified to discover human bones protruding from the soil. In 1980, Gacy was sentenced to death for mass murder. But even facing the death penalty, he calmly stated, on May 10, 1994, Gacy was officially executed. Richard Ramirez. In 1984, the entire city of Los Angeles was gripped by terror as families were attacked in their own homes. The perpetrator was none other than Richard Ramirez. Ramirez was born in 1960, growing up in a violent, impoverished family. But what turned him into a crazed killer was his cousin, a war veteran. His cousin recounted graphic details of killings during the war, even showing Ramirez photos of mutilated bodies. This made Ramirez obsessed with killing from a young age. From 1984 to 1985, Ramirez committed a series of murders in the most horrific ways. He broke into victims' homes late at night, waiting for them to sleep before attacking. After killing, he drew satanic symbols on the walls with blood. Residents locked their doors tightly, afraid to sleep. Police mobilized massive forces but couldn't find him. On August 31, 1985, Ramirez walked into a convenience store, but a resident recognized him from the news. They immediately shouted, and the whole neighborhood chased him through the streets. Civilians beat Ramirez, holding him down until the police arrived. Ramirez was sentenced to death on 13 counts of murder. but he showed no fear. However, he didn't die by execution. In 2013, he died in prison from liver cancer, ending one of the most terrifying crime sprees in American history. Charles Manson. If you've heard of the murder of actress Sharon Tate, that was the most horrific crime committed by the Manson family. Charles Manson didn't directly kill anyone, but he brainwashed dozens of people, turning them into fanatical killers. Manson was born in 1934. His mother was an alcoholic who was imprisoned for robbery. Growing up, he was constantly in and out of reform schools and spent much of his young adult life in prison. After being released from prison in 1967, Manson gathered a group of disaffected youths in California. He proclaimed himself a messiah, spread conspiracy theories about an impending apocalypse. On August 9, 1969, following Manson's orders, a group of his followers broke into the home of actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant at the time. They brutally stabbed Tate and 4 of her friends to death, leaving the word pig written in blood on the wall. The next night, Manson ordered the similar murders of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. After the murders, it took police months to connect the dots. He was sentenced to death, but his sentence was commuted to life in prison when California abolished the death penalty. He died in prison in 2017 at the age of 83. Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield. If you've seen The Silence of the Lambs or The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, did you know? These films were inspired by Ed Gein, a killer whose hobby was crafting objects from human bodies. Ed Gein was born in 1906 in a small town in Wisconsin. He grew up with a religiously fanatical mother who constantly taught him that women were sinful and sex was disgusting. In 1957, a woman named Bernice Worden disappeared in broad daylight. When police searched Gein's house, they discovered a scene of horror beyond imagination. A house full of artwork made from human skin, a mask made from a human face, a chair upholstered with human skin. Although many consider him a serial killer, he actually only confessed to killing 2 women, Bernice Worden and Mary Hogan. Most of the bodies in his house were exhumed from local cemeteries, where he dug up corpses to conduct his morbid experiments. He was arrested and declared legally insane, sent to a mental hospital instead of prison. He lived there until 1984, when he died of cancer. Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer is not only one of the most notorious serial killers in American history, but also an unsolved mystery. He sent coded messages challenging the police, but to this day, no one knows who he really was. From 1968 to 1969, the Zodiac murdered at least 5 people, but he claimed to have killed over 37 victims. First confirmed attack was in December 20, 1968. A young couple shot dead in their car in California. Next attack was in July 4, 1969. Another couple attacked. The man was shot but survived. And the most infamous attack was in September 27, 1969. Zodiac, wearing a black executioner's hood, attacked a couple in broad daylight, tied them up, and stabbed them dozens of times. After each murder, the Zodiac sent letters to newspapers with chilling content. He described the killings in detail and dared the police to catch him, and sent ciphers, claiming that if solved, they would reveal his identity. In 2020, a team of codebreakers solved one of the Zodiac ciphers, but it contained no clues about his identity. Police had many suspects, but no one was ever convicted. Ted Bundy. He wasn't like other cold-blooded murderers. Handsome, intelligent, educated, Bundy easily gained women's trust. But behind that facade was a true demon. Ted Bundy was born in 1946 in Burlington, Vermont. Grew up not knowing his real parents. He was raised by his maternal grandmother as her own son. Obsessed with violence from a young age, neighbors recounted that Bundy liked torturing animals. Hurt by his first love, when his first girlfriend broke up with him, he completely changed, becoming cold, hating women, and this might have been the turning point that led him to kill. From 1974 to 1978, Ted Bundy targeted over 30 women across the United States, but the real number could be much higher. He had a familiar tactic, pretending to be injured, then approaching kind-hearted young women, asking for help, and when their guard was down. After taking his victims to secluded locations, he not only raped and murdered them, but also committed gruesome acts. Ted Bundy didn't kill to cover up his crimes, he killed simply because he liked it. In 1975, Police coincidentally spotted a suspicious car speeding late at night. Upon inspection, they were shocked to find handcuffs, rope, knives, and a ski mask in the car, all tools he used for his crimes. He was brought to trial and convicted. Bundy escaped from prison in Colorado twice. During his second escape, he went to Florida, and within just 1 month, he brutally murdered 3 more young women at a university sorority house. In 1978, Bundy was caught again after a patrol officer checked his ID. Ted Bundy's trial in 1979 was the first murder trial in the U.S. to be broadcast live on television. Millions watched as he defended himself, but no matter how intelligent he was, Bundy couldn't escape conviction. He was sentenced to death 3 times, and on January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy was officially executed in the electric chair.